Bring it on in, a little Friday Night Lights edition here. It is the afternoon. Hello, everybody. Daily Ticket with you. A lot to get to in the world of Philadelphia sports. Big weekend for NFL and college football. Penn State, Ohio State at noon. Come on. We got a big NBA card, and I can't wait to break it all down with our guest here on a Friday, Sam Oshtry from The Score. He's been with us. You've probably heard him a few times on The Gambler. We'll hear him a lot more now that hoop season is here and getting a little bit of an expanded role over there at The Score from what I hear. Sam, good afternoon. Happy day after Halloween. How we doing?
What's going on, Sean? It's great to be back on the air with you. It's my time of year. Hoops is back. College basketball is starting on Monday.
Whoa.
11:30 p.m. tip. We got Baylor, Gonzaga.
Whoa.
Obviously, the Eagles are humming. I'm staying up till 2 a.m. every night watching League Pass. It's my time of year. It's the best time of year. It's good to be back on with you.
You sicko. I love it. I love it. Yeah, college basketball starts on Monday. Villanova has a basketball game on Monday.
Can't believe it.
Unbelievable. What is your outlook?
It all just comes in waves, and it's just November is here already. October is gone.
Yep.
Crazy.
What's your outlook on Nova this year? Your thoughts on what your expectations are for them in this really important year for Kyle Neptune and company?
Yeah, it's a huge year for Kyle Neptune. Obviously missed the tournament last 2 years after they were perennial tournament teams, perennial championship contenders, honestly, with Jay Wright. So a lot of pressure on him. I like the outlook of the roster. Eric Dixon, when you bring him back, he's going to be one of the top scorers in the nation. I mean, he can shoot from the outside. He can post, mid-post, low post. So he's an awesome player. They have enough depth to compete towards the top of the Big East, but that's such a physical, hard conference. I'm pretty high on Nova this year. I expect them to make the tournament. I don't know if they'll be able to compete with the UConns of the world in the Big East, but they'll have a pretty good season.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? You know, it was never going to be easy for Kyle Neptune, but he's got his players now in. He's getting some good recruits. He just got a big recruit a couple weeks ago. I was reading about. Couldn't talk about it. The kid rips his shirt off. Nova, cameras, CBS Sports, all that. I get Kyle Neptune on a show. I bring it up to him. Forgive me. It was his former player's son. Man, now I'm drawing a blank on it. Anyways, put that to the side. Didn't matter. This kid revealed he's going to Villanova, and Kyle Neptune's like, no.
I was actually watching that. I was watching that. You brought it up, and then he was like, "Yeah, can't talk about that," and it was on to the next subject. You were great moving on, but that's the nature of the business. What you really should have asked is how much money did you pay him to come?
That's funny, right? Well, that's my thing. My thought is, Sam, it's like with the NIL, it's like, wait, we still have to abide by these dumb rules. Like these kids are making millions of dollars. Well, you know, some are making 100 grand, some are making 50 grand, some are making 500 grand, whatever. But these are big time recruits, and we still are dealing with it somewhat in the Stone Age, whatever.
Enough with the student athletes. They're semi-pro athletes. You can even call them professional athletes.
At the end of the day, you're not lying. Well, we'll have plenty of time to break that down. I can't wait to talk some college hoops. I mean, it's we do college sports really well on the station with Joe Tanzi, Mark Henry Jr., Ryan Beef Coyle, Jansen, yourself now joining the crew here. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody off the top of my head, but I'm really excited about what we have cooking here. So we're going to hit on a lot here, Sam. I got you for the next hour, so really looking forward to breaking it down with you. Of course, Sixers are off tonight, tomorrow. Interesting game taking on the Grizzlies there. We'll talk about John Morant. Tough injury last night to Paolo Banchero and the Orlando Magic. Are you kidding me? Just when they had something grooving, just when he really had something grooving to take that next step. I even said something along the lines of like he's giving me Kobe vibes at an early stage of his career.
My guy right there over my shoulder right
there. There it is. I know. Yes, Golden Pipes. Yes, I know. But that's unfortunate news. But let's open up with what we saw last night in Thursday Night Football. I was out and about with, I'm sure a lot of parents were running around with our kids, getting trick or treat, getting candy. Sam, I don't know how much of this game you watched. I caught a lot of the second half, which tells me I didn't really miss much in the first half. But I got to give credit to the Jets and anybody that took the Jets yesterday as 2.5-point favorites. They were no business being favored in that game, but that was kind of like one of those games where the line was telling you something. However, though, the Jets have had a few of those this year, and it didn't work out. Yesterday, credit to you if you did back the Jets. Your takeaway from that game, though, anything important for you?
Yeah, I was impressed with the Jets, mostly because it was a tough environment for them. I mean, it wasn't so much them as much as the fans were screaming, "Sell the team." I mean, this is as miserable, and I know some Jets fans. This is as miserable as Jets fans have been in a long time, and they've been through heartbreak and some brutal seasons, but never with this much expectation when you have Rodgers coming back, and it was just all on his shoulders. The weight of the world, it felt like, because he put a lot of this roster together too. Obviously, you got the Devontae Adams trade. Lazard, Nathaniel Hackett is the offensive coordinator because they wanted Aaron Rodgers to come. So it just felt like a lot was going against them. But you were right about the line. It screamed to take the Jets and almost screamed like, all right, is this a trap? But to be honest with you, I was on the Jets, not to pat myself on the back because I think of anything of the Jets, mostly because I'm not really that high on this Texans team. And it kind of showed us why. Obviously, when Stephon Diggs goes out, it's going to hurt the offense, hurt CJ Stroud's outlook. But I'm not that high on this Texans offense. And so I really like what I was seeing, at least from the Jets defense from the pass game. And then you have Rodgers with his back's against the wall. He played a pretty good game. I mean, he struggled in the first half, but he played well in the second half. They still had their Jets moments when you drop the ball on the goal line when you're about to be in the end zone to take a 7-0 lead, and it felt like, all right, this is the same old Jets. Why would I ever back this team? But then they come out and they impress in the second half, and that was a good win. And they're 3-6. I don't know if they have a chance at the playoffs. We can talk about that a little bit, but that was an impressive win for them.
Yeah, look, the offensive line issues are just terrible for the Houston Texans, and you saw that yesterday get exploited. But like you said, credit to Aaron Rodgers and company. I forgot about the people getting a little hostile in the stands there. Only throwing for 211 yards, still 3 touchdowns. Nice work across the board by Rodgers. There are no interceptions, the most important stat there. And a Devontae Adams, 7 grabs for 91 yards. He had the unbelievable catch by Garrett Wilson in the corner, 9 grabs for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. And Breece Hall had the 15 carries on the evening, and he couldn't really get much going, finished with 74 yards. But the offense looking like they could hit, the ground running there. And if they get out of their own way, they are a team that could potentially still make the playoffs. And I mean that, right? There's a lot of football to be played left.
And the AFC isn't that good, especially that wild card position. The thing is, they don't have the easiest schedule. I know they were talking about on the broadcast how Rodgers was convincing them kind of in the pre-production meeting, going through each game of how they could make the playoffs. Classic Rodgers move to do that with Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels in the pre-production meeting. But they don't have the easiest schedule. I mean, they have the Cardinals next week. They still have the Dolphins twice, where they got really unlucky, where they're going to have to face the Dolphins twice with Tua. They didn't play him once when he was out with a concussion. So that's pretty unlucky for the Jets there. They're going to play the Bills, second to last week of the season, Colts, Seahawks. Not a lot of easy wins in there. Maybe the easiest game left is the Jaguars. We'll see how they finish the season. But there's not a lot of easy games in there, but this is a good step in the right direction. And if they're around 9 wins, that could be enough to get them to the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Look, they're plus 300 to make the playoffs. Am I telling you to make that? No. But and I have never been a pro Jets guy. I know better than that. But there is something that, like, you go out and get Devontae Adams. I know it was late in the season, but still, it's his guy. They have, back and forth. He was going to fit that role nicely. I love what they bring as far as the running attack is concerned. Defensively, going into the year, now they have issues as far as getting after the quarterback. Hassan Reddick still has to get his legs underneath them. Could he be the answer? We'll see. But I still believe that I thought after last week's loss against the Patriots, that was it. But here it is, 1 win, and they kind of just bring you back in slowly but surely. Hopefully they make it interesting. That's all.
The best part of the week for the Jets was, I don't believe Rodgers made an appearance on Pat McAfee's show.
Wow.
So maybe that's something. Maybe if he just shuts his mouth, doesn't worry about all that nonsense on the outside, and just plays football, does what he has to do, takes care of business, he'll get it done. I mean, he's one of my favorite players to ever watch.
Yeah.
Watch through the ball just growing up. Like, over Tom Brady, I was an Aaron Rodgers guy. And so I really don't want him to go out like this, where it's like, all right, everyone hates him already. He's such a controversial figure. But in terms of his on-field performance, I want to see him go out, not necessarily with a Super Bowl, but with on top. It went with a good playoff run where he's still throwing the football at a high level and people trust him.
I don't think he's done after this year. I think he's still coming back, especially because Devontae Adams is back with a Jets uniform. I assume that contract just carries over. He stays with the Jets, right? I don't even know. Yeah, because he got a new deal with the Raiders.
Yeah.
So he's not going anywhere. Now, I just want to push back a little bit, though, is this because I think people got a little, and I'm not saying you did, but people got carried away this year with the blame on Rodgers. Now, was he throwing interceptions? Of course. He wasn't playing the great Aaron Rodgers, put the ball on the money. I'm not scared of anybody. But there were like that Garrett Wilson interception against the Steelers the other day. He put the ball right off the numbers, and an interception goes the other way. Like there was a lot of things that Aaron Rodgers did right, and yet still ended up coming out in the wrong end. Again, so I thought like that was kind of a talking point for a lot of people out there, just to point the finger. He is very disliked across the world, across the sports stratosphere in the last 2-3 seasons. But I'm putting that to the side. Like, maybe last year I might have rooted against him and he only played the 4 plays, but even if he's healthy. But this year I was kind of like, all right, show me what you got, Jets. That division's up for grabs. I didn't believe in the Dolphins. You knew the Patriots were going to be cooked. So the Buffalo Bills were supposedly going to be hurting, and they are on offense somewhat. But, like, go and show me what you got. And it just didn't happen. So, again, putting a bow on what we saw last night, I'm thankful that they were able to win last night because a lot of people were on them. Good. Let's keep it moving. I think when the Rodgers and the Jets are winning this year, it could be a very good thing for us as sports fans. That's all.
Yeah, and the thing about Rodgers and all the critics that he had this year, it wasn't so much like the interceptions, at least for me. It wasn't so much the interceptions and he wasn't playing well. It was more like his mobility. And especially in the early few weeks of the season, it really seemed like he didn't trust his own leg. And that makes sense. Look, he was coming off a serious Achilles injury. He didn't play at all last year. So it seemed like he didn't really trust getting outside the pocket. And there were some offensive line concerns, which is they've been better, but it was still in the early part of the season. I just don't think he like trusted his leg as much as maybe he should have, or maybe that was just the calculation he made himself. And I don't think he was getting out of the pocket and escaping and extending plays the way that we've known Aaron Rodgers to do his whole career. And that's what he's been amazing at, is extending plays and making these phenomenal passes amongst traffic. And we didn't see as much of that in the early part of the season. And the expectation, I mean, it's so high for him. You remember he struggled that last year in Green Bay, but before that, he was back-to-back MVP. I mean, this guy was phenomenal. So the expectation is so high for him that it's when he's not performing at that level, he's going to have criticism.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. So the bar is high. We'll see what happens. Nice win by the Jets. We'll see if they can keep it moving as far as next week is concerned. I don't believe they have a bye next week, do they?
No, they're at the Cardinals next week.
Okay, nice. Well, a winnable football game. All right, staying in the NFL, Sam, and let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. I guess the big news from today, Darius Slay not out at practice. Again, I don't get caught up throughout the course of the week as some media members do. I see it like Lamar Jackson not practicing on Wednesday. It means nothing to me. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's the Friday practices. It's the Saturdays. It's right before kickoff. That sort of deal. So with that, Lamar Jackson, of course, is out there right now. But for the Eagles, Slay is not. And no Dallas Goedert, but that shouldn't be a surprise there as far as Goedert is concerned. But Eagles, big one on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jags. Right now, DraftKings Sportsbook, where we're getting our numbers from. And I think it was a 7.5-point line, I thought, for majority of the week. As far as right now, 7.5 it is. 45.5 is our total. 4:05 start time. All things courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. And if the return of Doug Peterson, the Eagles have looked great. Jacksonville hasn't. They lost a tough one last week to the Packers at the end of the regulation field goal. Injuries, we'll find out what's going on with the rookie receiver with Jacksonville. They're down a couple offensive line. This is like one of those games where, yes, the Eagles should win. In my opinion, Sam, and I'm not a big teaser guy, I think this is the best teaser leg out there in NFL Week 9. But, putting that to the side, the almighty equalizer, 7.5-point spread here. So your thoughts on that one? I could see the Eagles winning by 7. I could see the Eagles winning by 9. I could see them winning by 5. I don't know if that's like the great analysis you're hoping to hear. I think it's a really good point spread. In my opinion, I think a point maybe too many. But some are saying this is a possible trap spot. Eagles are feeling good. I don't consider it that. Also, look ahead line with the division battle coming up here, or look ahead spot for the Eagles. I don't. They're back at home, third link game this year. I think you're going to get the best of the Eagles offense hopefully the defense can answer the call here. Your thoughts on this one on Sunday, though?
Yeah, first, it feels like they haven't been at the link at all. And it feels like they might not be for a while, too, after this week. It's like this home schedule for the fans, for guys like us, it's been brutal this year. But
starting off with Brazil.
yeah,
it's been absurd this year.
Exactly. And people forget about that Brazil game, especially when they went through that rough stretch. I mean, that was a Packers team that had Jordan Love for most of the game. That's when he got injured late. That was a good win, but it was Brazil. It was a weird game opener, so people kind of tossed it out the window. In terms of this game on Sunday, the Eagles should pummel Jacksonville. I mean, they have nothing going for them. I'm not the biggest Trevor Lawrence guy. We know our guy John Jensen obviously is. I don't even know who's going to be rooting for, Trevor or the Eagles this weekend. But I'm just not the biggest Trevor guy. You can blame it on Doug Peterson. You can blame it on the offensive staff. Whatever it is, he's not playing good football this year. I don't trust him, and I really like what we're seeing from Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They've been great in coverage. There's a lot of film guys who've been breaking that stuff down, the stuff that they've been doing, tracking receivers all over the field. I don't think Jaguars offense is going to have a very good day. Doug's been back to the link, so it won't be as ceremonious as it was in his first return. And if we're being honest, this is going to be the last time Doug Peterson ever returns to the link as a head coach, because he's gone after this year, as far as I'm concerned. Not that I believe that's the right call, but at the disappointing season they're having, it seems like we're trending in that direction. I think the Eagles should kill them. I mean, they're going to do what they've done all season, which is just pound the rock, run the ball, run Saquon Barkley into the ground. I don't trust this Jaguars defense, especially their run defense, to stop them. And look, Jalen Hurts coming off his best game of the season, best game in maybe well over a year. And that he has that confidence now where I think he's gonna start performing at an even higher level throughout the rest of the season. It took some time to get going with Kellen Moore, but I think you're gonna see their relationship, Kellen Moore's play calling. Jalen Hurts is gonna trust it even more. He's gonna trust that deep ball even more. He's a completely different player with AJ Brown on the field. And people forgot that when they were being so critical of him and the whole offense during that stretch when AJ Brown was out. He is a completely different player. That's obviously his main target, his main guy, but it also opens up so much for Smitty too. Like that deep ball that we saw Smitty catch last week, a lot of that is because AJ Brown is garnering so much attention from the defense. Dallas Goedert being out, he was out last week. It's not that much of a concern for me. This should be just an absolute killing by the Eagles. I don't expect it to be a game. You're right. I would like it to be a 6.5. The 7.5 kind of worries me a little bit, but what I'm saying is they're going to kill them, and it'll be like a 17 to 21 point game. I'm not really concerned about it.
Well, we'll see, because if the Eagles team that we saw, and let's just go ahead and lump all three, because where I stand, I don't care about how good the opponent is. It's the NFL, man. These guys are professional athletes. You got the best of the best. Are the Browns good? No. Are the Giants a weak team? Sure. But if any given Sunday, right, like you can get the best ever from these Giants. The Giants went on the road and beat Seattle. I never thought it was going to happen. Cleveland could put together an effort. They got a good defense out there. Deshaun Watson's terrible. But what they showed me in that game against Cincinnati, again, this defense is after it. You're starting to get a lot better linebacker play from Nakobe Dean, of course, defensive end. Nolan Smith getting after it, getting involved here. Secondary with the rookies playing really well now. DeJean balled out. Really taking a hold of that nickel spot. Loving what I'm seeing from him right now and just being aggressive. So if they give you more of what we saw the last 3 weeks, they should win by double digits. I'm right there with you. But something tells me coming back to the link, Trevor Lawrence could make a few throws here. But again, they're dealing with a ton of injuries right now. So we don't know who's playing, who's in, who's not. Brian Thomas Jr. could be out. I think he was limited at practice yesterday. So I didn't see anything as far as today is concerned. Again, that's a big deal. Offensive line issue. So you make me make a selection right now, Sam. I'll go ahead and tell you I'll take the Eagles minus 7.5. But I might tease it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
It's definitely a great teaser spot. And anytime you see a 7.5, that's the ultimate teaser because you don't want to go through that number 0. So that's the ultimate 7-point teaser there. Let me just say something about Nick Sirianni. I trust him. Let me just say first, I trust him, period. And let me say second, I trust him to win games like these. Yeah, I see your face there because I haven't been on the air since all the time, those weeks when Nick Sirianni was getting crushed by everyone in the media.
Well, by all means, Sam, the floor is yours, because I will have a rebuttal for you, but go right ahead.
I trust him to win football games. You can say things about the offense, his control, what he actually does in terms of Kellen Moore's the play calling, when he's butting his head into that, when he's not. All he's done in this city, other than that collapse at the end of last season, is win football games. Yeah, they went through a rough stretch early in the season, but let's temper that criticism that he got. He shouldn't have kicked the field goal in that loss to the Falcons. Or excuse me, he shouldn't have went for it in that loss to the Falcons on that fourth down. He should have just taken the points. Sure, that's worthy of criticism. But after that, it spiraled into this thing that was so much bigger than him as a football coach. Like, he was getting criticized for bringing his kids up to the podium after a press conference. Like, everyone was criticizing him for these little things that have nothing to do with winning football games. And you know what I care about? I care about if the guys on the team trust him. And you can talk about his relationship with Jalen Hurts all you want. It looks pretty good to me. You see their communication on the field, even if Kellen Moore is calling the plays. It looks good to me. Like, it seems like the guys trust him. You see the clips, and obviously it's the Eagles' social media team putting them out. So they're only going to put positive clips out. But you see the clips of him talking to Smitty, saying, you got a great block. Go thank that guy. You see him talking to Saquon Barkley. He has the respect of all those guys. And when you hear Jason Kelce week after week defend him, who was in the locker room with him, who doesn't need to defend him, it's not like it's his best friend in the world, but he sees what he is as a coach and as a communicator and what he can be as a CEO of a football team. When you see a guy like John Harbaugh, what he is with the Ravens, where he's not calling the plays either. He's the CEO of a football team. Nick Sirianni wins football games for this city. And people were so critical of him. And things could have really, everyone called for his job. I haven't seen a guy in this city have this low of approval rating, a big-time coach, in a long time. Everyone was assuming he's fired after the year. Things really could have spiraled out of control. Oh, yeah. And he won 3 in a row. The Browns one wasn't pretty. They killed the Giants, even though the passing game wasn't pretty. And then they best win of the season against a good Bengals offense. I don't care about the record right now. That's a good Bengals offense. And all he's done is win, and he weathered that storm, and he's got them on the right track. And no one's talking about it. He deserves credit.
Well, I would say, you don't think people are talking about that right now? You don't think he's getting the credit, but putting that to the side?
The team is. I don't think he is. I think people are saying Kellen Moore is doing a better job with Jalen Hurts. I don't think he is.
That's interesting. Again, I could be tapped in a little bit more as far as what's being said on radio and stuff like that. But the stuff that I read, timeline, I think people are coming away and slowly but surely removing maybe that valid criticism that he was getting for a few weeks into where we're at right now. Now, look, not that anybody cares, but the ebbs and flows for me personally with Nick Sirianni, this guy proved that he was the right guy for the job. In the beginning, I was not a fan. That first year took a couple weeks. I lost my mind when they went out to Vegas, got blown out, and then he turned it around. And since then, he's made the playoffs every single time. Absolutely coming into this year, the bleeding from what last year, how it took place, the just absolute collapse, that was still in my mind. And I think for a lot of people it was. And you have to wonder, like, what the hell is going on there? Little pushback, I would say, from the great leadership, because I'm with you. But we can only go off of what we have. And when Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, his CEO, his right-hand man, isn't really given, that sign of approval when he's asked a simple layup question. I know you're frustrated, Jalen. Yeah, we have our moments. So that's definitely something that was making me think, like, this might be a little bit worse than what we're seeing on the outside. I lost it over the Falcons loss. I lost it because when you are trying to win a Super Bowl, and that's what we're trying to do, every game is so important. The seeding, the home field throughout the NFC, instead of going to San Francisco at that point in time, I don't think that's going to be the case. Instead of going to Detroit in the Dome, it could come back to the Atlanta Falcons loss. And I lost my mind over that. That was a winnable football game. If he runs the football, if the clock continues to run, we're 140 down to a minute, they win that game. He lost that game with that decision. He lost that game. So I lost my mind with that loss. Went into the New Orleans game, ugly. A win is a win, but really questionable decisions. Like, what is going on right now? What are we doing here? Again, the kids at the podium, I'm right there with you. I didn't really care too much about it. He talks to the media 7 times a week. You know, like, get over yourself. If he brings his kids up there, he's done it before. It was a little weird. It wasn't actually like the smoothest. It was a little weird. And like,
He's also done it during wins all the time. And he's
I
also
know, I
the
know.
guy.
But he didn't answer. But it was really weird because like it felt like, you know, I don't know, just odd. And me
He isn't the best media trainer. And we
all
obviously
day,
saw that in this opening
all
press
day.
conference.
He
But
is terrible on a microphone, but
horrible.
get him inside the NovaCare complex. Get him in front of the team. You saw the videos released yesterday. Perfume. You could sniff it. You could smell it. You can use it, but don't drink it. Love it. Whoever told, finally, like, dude, mic him up in practices as much as possible because he is a motivator. You see it. I hate, look, hey man, when we tweet and we tweet through things, we're gonna say stuff. When you're in the paint, you get dunked on, right? And I did tweet like after the Falcons game, like, dude, how is he losing this game? I don't think I called for his job then, but definitely in that New Orleans game, I'm like, this guy just seems like he is not in control of the situation right now. I'm well aware, and you know what? I think I did say that I hope people are dunking on me for that tweet in week 16, week 17, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl. Dunk on me all you want. Good. But at that moment, man, I was second guessing. But here we are. Here we are, Sam. Big time win over Cincinnati. And he deserves all the credit in the world. Keep it going. Foot on the pedal. Jacksonville, winnable football game. No one cares about the spread. Don't care about the spread. Win by a touchdown. Win by 3. I don't give a damn. Win the football game. Like, that's where I differ from everybody that was calling for that wanted blood. Like, the Cleveland game wasn't the best. It was a win. It was a win. And like, I felt like, man, people were over the top on that after a win. You got to give it up. It's about wins in this league, and that's all that matters.
So don't you give credence to the fact that he has turned it? I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just saying, speaking to the larger Philadelphia fan base as a whole,
sure,
which I'm included in. Don't you give credence to the fact that he has weathered the ship? I mean, you've been around the city a lot longer than me. Have you had? When was the last time a coach of his stature, or really just a player, or maybe even who was a superstar player, who has been that criticized and that low of approval rating, and they never survive ever? I mean, usually it just starts unraveling, and then eventually they're fired by the end of the year. Like, I don't. You tell me, because I don't remember a guy who had that low of approval rating after that time, even after a win. I'm still going back to after that Browns win, because that's when I think it was the absolute lowest, when people were calling this guy an absolute clown, this and that. And then so after that, he weathers the storm. Dominant win over the Giants and a really impressive win over the Bengals. Don't you think he deserves credit for that?
All day. Absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I just, hey, look, again, last year bleeding over into this year is definitely a realistic point of view for me. And I think a lot of people out there now, there's a lot of people that just want to bitch and complain and want their voices heard and they want interaction. And that's majority of the people out there on the timeline. But for me, like, in my mind, hey man, like, I wasn't so sure that the Cleveland game was going to be a win. I wasn't so sure that the Giants game was going to be a win. And if they lose those 2 games, he could very well be out of a job. Last year, there were plenty of winnable football games. Even though they were on that skid, I'm like, they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure out. And then whatever it was, 6 games, 5 games later, they lose, and then they go into the playoffs and get absolutely boat raced by Tampa. So, like, I could not compartmentalize, like, with last year being last year into this year. It still had that stench. Now, he deserves all the credit in the world, dude. Like, I am with you. You laid it out, I think, perfectly. It's the way we should all view it. And he's bought himself, let's be realistic about it right now at this point in time. Like, he has made the playoffs every single year, so I hate saying it, but he's bought himself throughout the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still think that it's an NFC Championship appearance at minimum for him to keep his job.
Ooh, no, I don't. Because Jeffrey Lurie does not want to run his organization like this.
I agree. How many times are we going to recycle through coaches? I agree, but
he fired Doug Peterson after winning a Super Bowl, but something tells me that they knew something a little bit more behind the scenes, and Doug wasn't the best coach. Whatever. They went out and picked Nick Sirianni out of a whole lot of candidates, man. And when he didn't wow me in the beginning, he did something to Jeffrey Lurie, and Jeffrey Lurie got it right. Look, this guy has not missed the playoffs. There aren't many coaches in the world, in the NFL, I don't care, whatever league, that could say, yeah, I've made the playoffs 3 straight years and I'm still fighting for my job. Like, we got to be realistic with it. I'm glad to see him and Jalen on the same page. The offense is coming around. No, by the way, they're healthy too. That was another thing that kind of got buried. Like, dude, they're going into battle without AJ, without Devontae, without Lane. Like, we got to be realistic here. But Saquon's a beast. Offensive line looks great. Stout, we trust. Defense is coming around. I'm feeling great. Look, yesterday, Sam, I took my Dodgers in 5 winnings.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you. Plus 650. Little sprinkle. Wish I put more. Don't we say that about every wager?
Yeah, right.
Dodgers in 5, though. Took a little bullseye shot at it, threw the dart, boof, hit it, and immediately put it on the Eagles going to the – what did I bet it on? Oh, Eagles winning the NFC.
Winning the NFC. I like that.
I like them going to the NFC Championship game. God, sign me up right now. Eagles and Lions.
That'd be awesome.
Wow. Like Gibbs, Montgomery, and Saquon Barkley, 3 of the most physical running backs in the game. Both of those offensive lines, they're without Hutchinson, so I think now we're kind of like somewhat even defensively. I'd have to go in more depth on that one, but without Hutchinson, that's a huge loss for them. Dude, sign me up right now. Anyway, 7-1 plus 700 Eagles popped it over them. I said, argue it yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, by the way, because I do think that NFC Championship appearance is more than attainable. The Lions really worry me. Their offense is just explosive. I mean, they're unstoppable, and Jared Goff is playing at an elite level. It'll be interesting to see what both teams do with the trade deadline. When I'm looking at that NFC odds board, I don't get how the Niners are still that high up. I mean, maybe I guess Christian McCaffrey is coming back, but like it feels like this injury is so weird that it feels like it could be something that he kind of re-injures, and maybe he's not fully healthy when he comes back. He's not as explosive, can't feature him in the passing game as much. I don't like this Niners team. It feels like it's one of those lost seasons where the Super Bowl hangover has hit everyone at some point during the year. Obviously, it hit the Eagles later last year than most teams, but it feels just one of these seasons where it's just a lost season for the Niners. I don't get how they're that high up the odds board to win the NFC.
No, yeah, I think they're just still focused on what, again, they're going to get McCaffrey back, so that's nice for them. But look, last year, San Francisco remained relatively healthy. They played great. They deserve all the credit in the world. They are a dominant program. Shanahan's awesome. Made the hell out of Brock Purdy. But I just felt like something was going to miss from the 49ers perspective this year. Yeah. Here we are, McCaffrey. No one could have predicted him being out as long as he has. Is he back? Is he back this week?
I don't know if it's this week or he's
no, it's week 10. That's right.
Yeah, they have a bye this week.
That's right. That's right. So he'll be back supposedly week 10.
Just to put a bow on the Eagles conversation.
Sure.
Like when you're talking about them going to the NFC and potentially going to the Super Bowl, winning the NFC, I agree. I'm right there with you where I think that's attainable. And here's my point about Nick Sirianni. I trust Nick Sirianni not to get in the way of a potential another Super Bowl appearance. We've seen him taken there before with the right systems in place, the right play caller, Jalen playing at a high level throughout a full season, which we still have to see the rest of the way. I trust Nick Sirianni to get us to the Super Bowl, not get in their way of going to the Super Bowl. And it seems like a lot of people didn't, and a lot of people thought that he might get in the way. And I'm not there yet. I still trust him as a football coach to get the Eagles to the Super Bowl. It's that simple.
Interesting. Do I trust Nick Sirianni? I still think he's capable of some bad decisions.
Won a lot of football games here.
I still think he's capable of some bad decisions. Now, is it the perfect coach out there? No. Yeah, the perfect coach doesn't exist, right? Like the perfect coach, give me the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick. He's made plenty of errors.
Yeah.
He's made errors that cost him games. So maybe I need to change my outlook, but guess what? Winning cures all. So as he continues to win, I will definitely soften my stance on that one. I've still got a bad taste from the Falcons loss. I just still can't believe they lost that game, but I digress. Could you imagine if this team only had one loss right now?
I mean, the conversation around them would be so different. They're not even getting national coverage. I mean, it's remarkable, and it was a collapse.
Look at the standings. You know why? I think in the overall standings, aren't they like 7th still in the NFC?
Well, yeah, because we still have the Commanders, which we haven't even touched on. But so
Eagles are 5-2. Packers 6-2, even though they beat them. Falcons 5-3. Like CBS Sports showed like a graphic the other day, and like had the Eagles 6th, and it was all based off of records and I guess tie breaks, whatever. So yeah, if the Eagles only had the one loss and sitting at 6-1, they'd be in first place in the NFC East. And even though, look, correctly predicted by a lot of us, I said it last week. Eagles go up to Cincinnati and win. I said or win by 7. I didn't even say double digits. They're going to get the Super Bowl buzz again, and they did. Here we are, and rightfully so. Long way to go, though. Long way to go, because injuries are a mother, and they will hit you when you least expect it. But this week, a very winnable game against the Jacksonville Jags. All right, putting a bow on this week's NFL card. What's a big game to you as far as this week is concerned? For me, it's the Lions and Packers. Speaking about the Lions and their 3-point road favorites against Green Bay, Jordan Love looking like he's going to play. He was out there practicing. It was snowing in Green Bay, sleeting, nastiness. I thought he was done, Sam, with the groin injury. I thought he was going to miss a couple weeks. He's back out there. Mark Henry Jr. loves the Green Bay Packers. I'm not so sure about this weekend, but he loves the Packers as far as the outlook for the NFC this year. That is a game that I have my eye on, 4:25 on Sunday. Detroit, 3-point road favorites. A little much for you?
Yeah, it is. And I'm not as high as Mark is on the Packers season-long outlook, but I really like them in this game. I really like the +3 in this game, and I think they win outright. So I'd probably take that money line, which I believe is +125 as well. When we're talking about the NFC landscape, and from the Eagles' perspective, the only teams that really worry me are these two teams. So it's going to be a really interesting game to watch. The Lions, obviously, we've seen what they've done, and the Packers with Jordan Love's health situation. But if he is healthy, this Packers team is really good. The Eagles beat them, but we talked about that earlier, how it was a weird opening game in Brazil. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that. But other than these two teams, I mean, we talked about the Niners. They don't really scare me. The Commanders are a really good football team, and Jaden Daniels might give me nightmares for the next decade. But as a rookie in his first year, they'll make the playoffs. But would I really be concerned about them as an NFC contender? No, probably not. So there's really not any other teams that worry me. If we saw the Falcons again in the postseason, I wouldn't be concerned. You might be because it's giving you nightmares still, but I wouldn't really be concerned.
Be interesting. It would be interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I would favor the Falcons by no means, but when the Falcons hit their stride, Kirk can sling it. He's got some weapons. Kirk's not, but we know what Kirk does in the playoffs.
Get to the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we gave him his one primetime moment in that week 2 game earlier this season. Otherwise, every time in primetime, he stinks.
Fair.
But yeah, so I'm with you on this Lions Packers game. It's by far the game of the week for me. And I really like the Packers. And I'm eyeing this game from the Eagles' perspective because these are the two teams that I think are the biggest threats to the Eagles to come out of the NFC.
Man, Monday Night Football, we got the Chiefs 9-point favorites over the Bucks. Dude, Bucks are down a lot of players. 9?
They are. I was doing some stuff about potentially the Chiefs going undefeated this year. It's +1,200. +1,200 for the Chiefs to go undefeated. They don't have the hardest schedule. I mean, they have the Bills. They have some teams in there, but it's not the hardest schedule. Is there any way you would dabble with that?
Yeah, but no, because the problem is it's when they are undefeated and their one seed is wrapped up, Mahomes isn't playing, right? Or, they took their foot off the gas. But I don't know. It'd be interesting because, look, yeah, I think Mahomes to a man would tell you, like, hey, it's not about undefeated. It's about winning a Super Bowl. But on the flip side of that, yeah, they won 2 straight. Why not add a little something special to it? Maybe they would go about it differently. 1,200's a number that has my interest. I will say that. That's a good number. Good pull by you on that. But to bet it, good luck. Yeah, they're going to slip up.
It's ridiculous to even have this conversation before week 10, but it's like you look at their schedule and it's like they have the Broncos, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Browns, some really bad teams in there. I mean, the Texans and the Bills will be their hardest games, and then the Steelers last week of the season. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it crossed my mind too that they could, once they wrap up the 1 seed, they could just bench their guys, but maybe they would go for that historic mark. And the last team that went undefeated was obviously the Patriots, and they lost in the Super Bowl. So maybe that hurt them a little bit. Not that I was really following back then in 2007, but you never know. So it's something to think about.
Sam Oshtry joining us here for the full hour, talking all things across the sports landscape. We're going to switch gears and get your thoughts on Penn State and Ohio State in just a second. Make sure you find Sam on all things socials here. As I had your Twitter handle, I apologize, Sam. That would be SOSHTRY at SOSHTRY on the X machine. All right, let's get on over to college football. 60 seconds, because Joel Embiid had something to say today, so I want to get your thoughts as far as that is concerned. It seems like the big man might be taken to a floor now that he's addressing the media. Well, I'm glad the season, is ready. Appreciate
I gotta
that,
get
Joe.
on that. I missed that.
Yeah. He took a shot at Marcus.
Hayes.
Marcus Hayes. Thank you.
As he should.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I didn't even want to bring his name up, because he doesn't even deserve it. But over to college football, noon kickoff. Let's go. Penn State, Ohio State, 3-point spread. Who you got?
I got Ohio State. And I say that emphatically. I don't really look. State College is awesome. I've been there a few times. I've been to a whiteout. That's the most incredible sporting atmosphere I've ever been to in my entire life.
Okay.
And Eagles NFC Championship against the Vikings was number 2, but in terms of a college football atmosphere, is incredible at Happy Valley. It doesn't matter when James Franklin's in a big game. It doesn't matter if they're home, away. It doesn't matter the atmosphere. I don't trust him at all. And there's nothing. And this Penn State team is the best he's had in a while. And Drew Aller, I was not high on coming into this year, because what I saw of him in big time moments last year, really against Ohio State and Michigan. But that drive late in the fourth quarter against USC, that was a big time drive. It felt like Drew Aller grew up on that drive, and that was an impressive win over USC. But other than that, there's nothing on. And obviously, Drew Aller is dealing with an injury. We don't know exactly if he's going to play, but I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't play. Even though I kind of trust their backup in a way, he showed some good stuff last week. But the point is, this Penn State team hasn't shown us enough to trust them in a big moment. They're having their best season in a while, so they're ranked number 3, and they're getting all this national attention. Who have they beat? Like, one of their best wins was against Illinois, where they were up 14-7 late, and then Illinois threw a pick 6, and then it was over from there. Their offense wasn't moving the ball particularly well against Illinois, which was the second best team they played. And then their other best win is against USC. By the way, a pretty bad USC team. Like, it was an impressive win because of the travel, and it was a road atmosphere, and they had to come back. And Drew Aller had a big time drive, and then Penn State wins in overtime. But USC isn't some juggernaut this year. In fact, they're one of their middle to worst teams in the Big Ten. I mean, my Maryland Terps just beat USC the other day in college, or the other week in College Park. I don't trust this Penn State team because they haven't shown us enough, and I don't trust Drew Aller in a game like this. I will see if that USC drive really grew him up in a sense, if that's the right wording. But I just don't trust James Franklin in a big moment, and I don't trust this Penn State team. There's nothing they've shown me that to make them believe that I'm going to throw on them, especially because Ohio State's the more desperate team. I mean, we can talk about, to end this real quick, my soliloquy here, we can talk about who's more desperate and who has more pressure. If Ohio State loses this game, they could be looking at missing out on the playoffs. And if they're missing the playoffs this year, I don't know how Ryan Day is still the head coach next year. So this is a way bigger pressure spot for Ohio State, and they're way more desperate because Penn State loses. It's, they lost to Ohio State again. They're still going to be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, look, you can flip it and say, if not now, when, right, for Penn State. I totally agree with you as far as big spots. Big Game James is not that. But they have won these games before, maybe not at the strength that we're talking about Ohio State, so it's like
7 straight losses against Ohio State.
You're right about that. You're right. But, I could see Penn State getting the job done this weekend. For some odd reason, I'm taking the 3 points at home. Tyler Warren is a freak. One of the best players in the game, in my opinion. I love what he brings to the table. I like offensive play calling from Penn State. You're right. The Aller situation, as far as QB is concerned, I would expect him in there. But I thought Bo played really well. Definitely something you don't want to see, though. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Ohio State's defense is great, but not the toughest that we've seen, right? Like, I think that game against Oregon kind of opened my eyes a little bit there. So, look, I think I'm subscribing to Beef's theory. Ryan Beef Coyle said this, and he's coming up at 5 o'clock. If not now, when? And this is the game here. You're right, though. If Iowa State does lose this game, they're done. They're not making the playoffs with 2 losses, in my opinion. So we'll see how it plays out. But long way to go. But the big push for the college football 12-team playoff. A lot of eyes tomorrow, especially in the Big Ten.
It's working. That 12-team playoff has brought a lot more intrigue to this season. I love it. I was kind of indifferent on it. I was like, all right, let's see this play out. I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, over to the NBA. We got 9 games in the association. Sam's specialty. He talks all things hoops over at The Score. Does a little of everything. But Joel Embiid took to the podium. Not a happy man about what Marcus Hayes had to say. Now, Marcus Hayes did say some ridiculous stuff. Even brought up the passing of his brother and his son in a column. And Marcus Hayes is just an absolute troll, not worth our time. But that's what they got to do over there at the Inquirer. Knock yourself out. Quote, Joel Embiid to the media, when I see people saying he doesn't want to play, I've done way too much for this city, putting myself at risk for people to be saying that. I do think it's bullshit. Like that dude, he's not here. Marcus, I've done way too much for this beep, big F word, city to be treated like this. I like it. I like it, Joel. Good. And you know what? Marcus is never there because he's a weasel. Look, he's not above criticism. I got a 7-foot mural of Joel Embiid behind me, Sam. Like, I love the guy. I've been with him from day one. We've been 11 years into this bad boy. I love Joel Embiid, but the criticism now, it's exhausting being a fan of this team. It just is. The franchise, and it's not just Joel Embiid. I don't want to, everybody's at fault from top ownership, Harris to Morey to Nick Nurse to Elton Brand to Joel Embiid, the player himself. Like, it's exhausting. And again, when you're in the paint, you're going to get dunked on. So I promise you, if this team makes an Eastern Conference final, you can pull my tweet up all you want. You could say Brace thought about the contract extension, saying it was a mistake in week 1 of the NBA season. All of that. Good. Dunk on me all you want. Get there. This team has so many plans, so many taglines, year after year. Harden, Simmons, now we're trading for Paul George. Like, it all makes sense on paper, but it never pans out. Surprised me one year. And then, of course, the Sixers are their own worst enemy when they want to act like they're the smartest person in the room every single time, when it's just as easy as to come out there and say, you know what, here's the deal. Joel Embiid went away on the summer, played. We bumped stuff back. We didn't like what we were seeing. He's going to be ready somewhat after the start of the season. Not these guesses, not Nick Nurse tap dancing because he doesn't want to answer questions, doesn't know. Like, pull up a chair, Morey, grab a microphone. This is what I got to say, guys. He's our star center. We don't want to put him out there. He's dealing with getting acclimated, getting it going again. Like, own it. But, they try and act like they're the smartest person in the room every single time. So they're not above criticism. Here we are. This team has looked terrible to start the season. I think in their minds, they said, hey, look, we're going to have Paul George out there with Tyrese Maxey. Great. I still don't think that they're going to come out, hit the ground running, winning all these games. It takes a little bit, right? Like, this is where I'm at, Sam. When we talk about the Sixers, I'm fearful that it's going to be the same stuff that was said about the Brooklyn Nets with the 3-headed monster of Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie. Oh, they didn't play enough. The excuses. When it was supposed to be, you got superstars out here. Get them out there, roll the ball, and let's hoop. That's where I'm worried about this. That it's going to come March, and all of a sudden it's going to be like, well, they didn't play enough games together. And then April comes, and it's like, dude, we don't know. Joel Embiid could get hurt walking into a gym. I brought it up. DeJounte Murray broke his hand the first night of regular season. Anything can happen. Let's play some damn basketball with the best players on the team. If I'm a paying customer, I expect to see my guys out there. That's all.
I've been watching you blow a gasket every day on these airwaves over these Sixers.
Oh, I'm frustrated.
Last week, I know you are, and you're more than justified. There's a lot here. Like, the first with these comments, they just happened while we've been recording, while we've been on air here, so I haven't had the opportunity to sift through them. My initial reaction is when Joel Embiid says, "When I've done way too much for the city, putting myself at risk for people to be saying that." I do think it's BS. What he calls out Marcus Hayes, and he's rightfully so, because he came at his dead brother and his kid, and that was way over the line. I mean, that was just disgusting and ridiculous. But when he says things like, when I see people saying he doesn't want to play, I've done way too much for this city, it's still the reaction is like, what you're expected to do for the city is play basketball games and play at a high level. So it's like I don't know if people they're not questioning your integrity. They're not questioning whether you want it. I think people know that you want to be out there and playing. They're kind of questioning like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here in terms of your off-season regimen? Like, why did you play in the Olympics if you weren't healthy? Like, I saw Kyle Newbeck posted another tweet that he said he asked Embiid about playing in the Olympics, and he seemed to indicate that the strain of playing in that setting was a lot lower than what he needs to be ready for in order to do his job for the Sixers. So were you not healthy going into the Olympics, and then the strain was lower? Because we know he was injured at the end of last season. So like, what's the timeline here? No one's questioning whether you want to be on the floor or not. People are questioning, what are you doing behind the scenes? Where it's like, are you in shape? Are you not in shape? Like, why are you injured right now? Like, why are you injured? Why didn't the team say you were injured until the NBA had to investigate and found out that Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey were lying when they were saying that he's healthy, and they got fined for it? And so that pretty much indicated that he's actually hurt. But now he's doing 5-on-5. It's more, what is going on? Like, your frustration is more than justified, and it all boils down to like, what is happening and why don't we know? And it's like, we don't have, there's no proof that this is going to work. There's no history we can point to where it's like, all right, this Joel Embiid, you're going to be healthy come the playoffs. You're going to be healthy in the postseason playing your best.
I'm tired of the process. I'm tired of the plan. It's like, none of this works.
It's just like, the question is, what is going on? Like, what is going on? And nobody's an answer. And that's where the frustration lies, Joel Embiid.
Yeah. No, well said. I think you and I are on the same page when it comes down to it. We know how dominant he is. And I just think more and more we have to come to grips, or I think a lot of us are understanding this, but this is a desperate franchise. And they decided to marry to Joel Embiid with this contract extension. Sam, I was kind of going back and forth with Sean Menard, who is very, very, very upfront with positive thoughts on the 76ers, and everyone is entitled to their opinions. Good. I'm glad he's a little bit of an optimist. But I can't look at it anymore like this. This is year 11, and I just want to enjoy my team. And to the people that don't enjoy regular season basketball, I don't know what to tell you. I am not from that ilk. They play 82 games, man. I want to tune in on NBC Sports Philadelphia and enjoy a Tuesday night when the Sixers play the Detroit Pistons. Like, I don't care. Like, we got 82 regular season games. I can't just wait till April. I can't. Is it a championship mentality or a bust for everybody? Knock yourself out. But it can't be like that anymore. And maybe that's me changing my demeanor over the years. But, like, only one team, cliche to death here, only one team is happy at the end of the year. And it hasn't been the Sixers in my lifetime. So, like, I can't go about it, give me to April. And I've done that too much. So here we are. It's a new season. I just want to see the guys play. And the season started a week ago.
Not for them.
The schedule didn't just pop up on them. Like, we've known about, you're going to be on ESPN to open up the season. Like, we've known this. So,
and it's not going to start tomorrow either against the Grizzlies, because Kyle Newbeck tweeted that Paul George is also out for tomorrow along with Embiid per six.
Of course. I'm happy that he's talking. And my thought process was, this is a lot longer than what people are giving, than what reality is with Joel Embiid getting back out there.
Maybe Paul. What's
the deal with Paul George, though? He's running up steps. Like, what is going on?
That's what's so interesting about this. It's that it seems like Paul George and Joel Embiid are on the same timeline. And why? Why are they on the same timeline? We know Paul George's knee injury, and we know like what he was expected to be out. But why? Or it seems like they started practicing or running 5-on-5 scrimmages around the same time. It seems like it's always Paul George and Joel Embiid are out together. I'm pretty confident that when they come back, it's going to be together. So you can say it's fishy. I kind of understand it from the Sixers perspective, because if you're going to have this plan for Joel Embiid, you want to maximize the time he's on the floor with Paul George so that they can gain chemistry and learn how to play with each other. But if I'm the NBA, I'm looking at that like, why are they on the same timeline? Like, they don't have the same exact injury. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, look, Paul George was a tough injury, and I don't think anybody expected that. But more and more, I'm in my, I got my tinfoil hat on, and like Morey's just going, let's extend this as much as possible. I think because he knows that Joel Embiid, it's a desperate spot, and I think we're going to be talking about this contract extension for a little while. I really do. Maybe not now. And I love JoJo. retire his number. You know, like he's been an unbelievable player. I love watching him play. Maybe I don't know, retire his number, whatever. But he's one of the great Sixers of all time, no doubt about that. But if he can't be healthy and you can't depend, you can't like believe that this guy is going to help you in a nightly basis, or confident in a stretch of March through July, June, whatever it needs to be done, then giving him that contract extension was a mistake. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Just want to put that out there, but go ahead.
He's such a talented player.
He's unbelievable.
Maybe the best per minute scorer in NBA history. I mean, he is unstoppable, and when he's healthy and he's clicking and moving and grooving on both ends.
Excuse me, what would you say?
When he's healthy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
you. Yeah. I mean, you got me there. Like that's the big thing. The Sixers' best hope is 1 year, just a lucky year, like just one lucky year.
It's so desperate. It's so desperate.
Right. That's desperation. And let me just say about their plan. Like my whole problem in the beginning of this whole thing was not whether he was injured, is he out of shape, all this. It seemed like when they kept saying the ramping up period that they had this plan for him. He's not going to go back-to-backs. He's probably not going to play like 50 games. He's going to have.
Which, stop you real quick. That was a huge mistake on Joel Embiid to say that out loud. Say that out loud, that set it all off. Because if he doesn't say that and he's not playing, then okay, it's business as usual. He's going to catch some backlash, all that. But now we're tabbing everything up. He's not ready for the start of the season. We don't know what he's dealing with. Oh, by the way, when he does play, he's not playing back-to-backs. When will he play? 30 games this year? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but he does. You're right. He does have the exemption, though, like the Kawhi and a few other players have as well, where he's allowed to sit every back-to-back because of his injury history. The NBA granted him that exemption. But here's what I'll say about the plan. Yeah, I mean, you're shaking your head. It's ridiculous. We're at that point. But here's what I'll say about the plan. My problem with it is it's not going to work. Like, it's never worked in NBA history when you have a situation like this. And people's retort to that statement would be Kawhi Leonard in 2019 with Nick Nurse, actually, and the Raptors. Here's what people forget about that Kawhi Leonard year, where he actually played 60 games. He didn't play less than that, which Joel will probably play. He played 60 games. Kawhi Leonard got hurt during that playoff run. That's what people forget. I forget if it was late in that Sixers series or early in that Bucks series in that Eastern Conference Finals. His knee was in bad shape. He didn't miss a game, but he was limping around. He was pretty much hobbling on one knee. And you ask anyone who was around that organization in 2019, after games, they said he was in bad shape. He was limping around, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals, into the NBA Finals. He was essentially carrying the Raptors on one knee, but he has that toughness and that mindset where he could overcome that. He's obviously a very different positional player than Joel Embiid, and he has to do different things on both ends. But every time we've seen Joel Embiid a little injured, he's been really injured. Like you see him in the playoffs against the Knicks last year where he's still playing through an injury, but he's still injured and he can barely jump defensively. They're going at the rim at him because he can't protect the rim because he can't get lift because of his knee injury. Yeah. Kawhi Leonard got hurt. He just played through his injury and had the toughness to get through that playoff run. And he hasn't been the same since. And obviously his knee had knee issues before that. And his knee has been horrible since then, and it's really ruined his career post that Raptors championship. But if Joel Embiid gets a little hurt, the Sixers are done. There's no Joel Embiid getting a little bit hurt in the playoffs, which he's been the last few years, and him being the level of player that he needs to for them to win a championship. So that's the difference between those two situations.
Oh, yeah. And if they go with the 76ers desperation, the bar is so high with the Celtics. The Celtics are a dominant squad, top to bottom. Great coach, great front office. Seem to do a lot right when it comes down to making moves. And then with the lineup and, of course, what we've already seen between Brown and Tatum. So it's going to be tough, and I understand why you would go into a season saying, let's get Paul George, and I'm not trying to poo-poo that because we haven't even watched him play a minute, but, man, it hasn't been fun getting here, and I think that we're all in the same boat as far as that is concerned. Sam, great stuff, dude. Kicked ass for an hour here. Do you have one NBA play to send to people out? Just to let you know, I did nail the king of the court yesterday. Had Booker.
I was going to say congrats.
40. Thank you. I had Booker, and he went for 40. Just felt like it might have been a book showing there. Suns look good. but only 4 games to choose from last night. Tonight, 9 games. If you had one game that you are looking to pick a winner via spread and possibly a king of the court on your mind?
Yeah, I was excited to get to this card. We went way longer on the
Yeah,
birds and
as
have
I
been
knew we
waiting
would.
Nick Sirianni, so we didn't get to the card. My one play is the Timberwolves -4.5 against the Nuggets. I've hated what I've seen from the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic he's still the best player in the league to me, but his usage is way too high. He has to do everything. They don't shoot threes. They don't make threes. Russell Westbrook, he had a good game the other night. I don't trust him. Nuggets just were in overtime against the Raptors and Nets. 2 lucky wins. I don't love what I've seen from the Wolves. They're still figuring out their spacing and lineups and all that. And it'll be interesting to see how they guard Jokic, because last year they had Cat on him and Rudy Gobert is a floater. We'll see if they do that this year or this time around. It's because Julius Randle is going to be starting. If he starts guarding him, I hate what I've seen from the Nuggets. They've been a fade for me through this early part of the season. So give me Timberwolves -4.5. And then real quickly, king of the court, give me Jalen Brunson. He's not off to the best start this season. I think he has one of those 35 to 40-point games tonight. I really like the Knicks and against the Pistons. Yeah, against the Pistons tonight. So give me Jalen Brunson. He's not been as efficient as usual, missing some bunnies, missing some jumpers. I think it's a big Friday night.
All right, I am going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers this evening, and of course, the Orlando Magic still just suffering the shock of losing Paulo Banchero for at least 4 to 6 weeks. Torn quad, what was it? I forget exactly the injury. Oblique?
Yeah,
I think
oblique.
it was the there it was. Yeah, there it was. And you know what? With that, I'll stay there. Donovan Mitchell, king of the court. Let's go D Mitch. Let's see what he's got. I could see him going off for 45 plus this evening, right? Freak show, whatever. But I'll lay the number with the Cavs. I think it's 7 now at this point in time at DraftKings Sportsbook. Donovan Mitchell, king of the court. I like them to lay the lumber, especially what I saw in that Lakers game here. Friday night at home on the lake. Give me the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell going off. Sam, great stuff. Once again, you can find Sam on all things socials. Be sure to give him a follow. Sam, man, I got to get it down. SOSHTRY on socials. Sam Oshtry. Read him over at The Score. Fantastic stuff. You're going to hear him tomorrow. He'll be on the board for the morning show and then hanging out with Mark Henry Jr. That's going to be a good show.
Excited for that. Yeah, that should be awesome. Running
the board live at the Gambler and leading up to Villanova and Hampton, which will be kicking off at 12:30. So you get Mark Henry Jr. and Sam for 90 minutes leading into that game. Pre-game coverage kicking off on the Gambler at 12:30. Sam, great stuff. Once again, if you missed anything, find us all at FoxPHLGambler.com.